Algae, a polyphyletic group of photosynthetic eukaryotic organism. We will discuss about algae definition and characteristics, ecological relationships, classification, and its products. Algae is a simple, non-flowering, and typically aquatic plant of a large group that includes the seaweeds in many single-celled forms. Algae contain chlorophyll, but lack true stems, roots, leaves, and vascular tissue. Algae mostly eukaryotic organisms, meaning their cells have nuclear material of deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, organized within a nucleus. In view of this definition, the so-called blue-green algae will not be discussed. Those organisms are prokaryotic and are more appropriately referred to as blue-green bacteria or cyanobacteria. Virtually all species of algae are photosynthetic. Algal cell walls are generally made of cellulose but can contain pectin, a class of hemicellulose polysaccharides that give the algae a slimy feel. Next is algae ecological relationships. The usual habitat of many of the microscopic algae is open waters, in which case they are known as phytoplankton. Many species, however, live on the surfaces of rocks and larger plants within shallow water habitats, and these are known as Pyrrophyta. Other microscopic algae live on the moist surfaces of soil and rocks in terrestrial environments. In these open water, or pelagic, habitats, the phytoplankton are consumed by small, grazing animals known as zooplankton, most of which are crustaceans. The zooplankton are in turn fed upon by larger zooplankton, or by small fish. These predators are known as planktivores, which may then be eaten by larger fish, or piscivores, such as sharks or bluefin tuna, or humans. Top of the open water food web may be fish-eating birds, seals, whales, very large fish. In addition, because of their large size, macroscopic algae are critically important components of the physical structure of their ecosystems, providing habitat for a wide range of other organisms. The largest kelps develop a type of ecosystem that is appropriately referred to as a marine forest because of the scale and complexity of its habitat structure. Some species of green algae occur as mutualistic symbionts with fungi, in an association of two organisms known as lichens. Other green algae occur in a mutualism with certain animals. In general, the host animal benefits from access to the photosynthetic products of the green alga, while the alga benefits from protection and access to inorganic nutrients. For example, species of unicellular chlorella live inside of vacuoles within host cells of various species of freshwater protozoans, sponges, and hydra. Next is algae classifications. Euglenophyta. The Euglenophyta or euglenoids are 800 species of unicellular, protozoan-like algae, most of which occur in fresh waters. The euglenoids lack a true cell wall and are bounded by a proteinaceous cell covering known as a pellicle. Euglenophytes have 1 to 3 flagellae for locomotion, and they store carbohydrate reserves as paramylon. The primary photosynthetic pigments of euglenophytes are chlorophylls A and B, while their accessory pigments are carotenoids and xanthophylls. Most euglenoids have chloroplasts and are photosynthetic. Some species, however, are heterotrophic and feed on organic material suspended in the water. Chrysophyta. The Chrysophyta are the golden brown algae and diatoms, which respectively account for 1,140,000 to 100,000 species of unicellular algae. These algae occur in both marine and fresh waters, although most species are marine. In the diatoms especially, the cell wall is heavily impregnated with silica, SiO2, and is therefore quite rigid and resistant to decay. Diatom species are distinguished on the basis of the shape of their frustules and the exquisite markings on the surface of these structures. These algae store energy as a carbohydrate called leucocin and also in oil droplets. The golden brown algae achieve locomotion using 1 to 2 flagellae. The photosynthetic pigments of these algae are chlorophylls A and C, and the accessory pigments are carotenoids and xanthophylls, including a specialized pigment known as fucoxanthin. Pyrrophyta. The Pyrrophyta are the fire algae, including the dinoflagellates, which together account for 1,100 species of unicellular algae. Most of these species occur in marine ecosystems, but some are in fresh waters. The dinoflagellates have cell walls constructed of cellulose and have 2 flagellae. The photosynthetic pigments of the Pyrrophyta are chlorophylls A and C, and the accessory pigments are carotenoids and xanthophyll, including fucoxanthin. Some species of dinoflagellates can temporarily achieve a great abundance, that known as red tides, because of the resulting color of the water. Some species of dinoflagellates also develop a bioluminescence, which can be clearly seen at night and cause the ocean surface to look as if it were aflame. Chlorophyta. The Chlorophyta or green algae consist of about 7,000 species, most of which occur in fresh water, although some others are marine. Most green algae are microscopic, but a few species, such as those in the genus Cladophora, are multicellular and macroscopic. The photosynthetic pigments of green algae are chlorophylls A and B, and their accessory pigments are carotenoids and xanthophylls. The staunoids, class Cheirophyceae, are a very distinctive group of green algae that are sometimes treated as a separate division, the Cheirophyta. These algae can occur in fresh or brackish waters, and they have cell walls that contain large concentrations of calcium carbonate. Rhodophyta. The Rhodophyta or red algae are 4,000 species of mostly marine algae, which are most diverse in tropical waters. The cell walls of red algae are constructed of cellulose and polysaccharides, such as agar and carrageenan. These algae lack flagellae, and they store energy as a specialized polysaccharide known as Floridian starch. The photosynthetic pigments of red algae are chlorophylls A and D, and their accessory pigments are carotenoids, xanthophyll, and vicobilins. Phaeophyta. The Phaeophyta or brown algae number about 1,500 species, almost all of which occur in marine environments. These seaweeds are especially abundant in cool waters. Species of brown algae are macroscopic in size, including the giant kelps that can routinely achieve lengths of tens of meters. Brown algae have cell walls constructed of cellulose and polysaccharides known as alginic acids. Their photosynthetic pigments are chlorophylls A and C, while the accessory pigments are carotenoids and xanthophylls, including fucoxanthin, a brown-colored pigment that gives these algae their characteristic dark color. Some examples of brown algae include the Sargassum wee, Sargassum spp, which dominates the extensive, floating ecosystem in the mid-Atlantic gyre known as the Sargasso Sea. Xanthophyta. The Xanthophyta or yellow-green algae are 450 species that primarily occur in fresh waters. The yellow-green algae store carbohydrate as leucocin, and they can have 2 or more flagellae for locomotion. The primary photosynthetic pigment of yellow-green algae is chlorophyll A, and the accessory pigments are carotenoids and xanthophyll. Next one is algae economic products. The most important economic products obtained from algae are associated with brown and red seaweeds, which can be utilized as food for people and as resources for the manufacturing of industrial products. An especially common food is the red alga known as nori in Japan, and as laver in Western Europe, Porphyra spp, which has long been eaten by coastal peoples of China and Japan. This alga is often used as a wrapper for other foods, such as rice or plums, or it may be cooked into a clear soup. The major economic importance of brown seaweeds is as a natural resource for the manufacturing of a class of industrial chemicals known as alginates. These are used as thickening agents and as stabilizers for emulsions in the industrial preparation of foods and pharmaceuticals, and for other purposes. Agar is another seaweed product prepared from the mucilaginous components of the cell walls of certain red algae. Agar is used in the manufacturing of pharmaceuticals and cosmetics, as a culture medium for laboratory microorganisms, and for other purposes, including the preparation of jelly desserts and soups. Carrageenan is another, agar-like compound obtained from red algae that is widely used to stabilize emulsions in paints, pharmaceuticals, ice cream, and other products. Here is some other algae product advancement. Algae farm. Algae product made for interior design is the coral, an indoor microalgae farm developed by Hyunseokkan. This wall-mounted bioreactor proposes a daily ritual for algae consumption through home algae farming activities. Carbon capture farm. Photosynthetic is a photosynthetic system which uses solar energy to remove CO2 and pollutants from the atmosphere, that is digitally connected, smart, design and produce a food resource in the form of algae. It can be used as a building cladding system, a canopy or inside buildings. Another company that has a product to capture CO2 with algae is Pontic, that designs and operates scalable bioreactors that use industrial greenhouse gases to cultivate algae. Bioplastic. Marinatex is a versatile material that can be an alternative to plastic in a variety of applications. It's made from agar from red algae and proteins from fish processing waste. The material degrades completely after 4 to 6 weeks. Designer Charlotte McCurdy has fashioned a water-resistant jacket from a bioplastic made of algae. The algae are bound together by heat and finally poured into molds which are custom-made to ensure the plastic survives the curing process. Energy and biofuel. Algae Energy has products and solutions based on different microalgae for industries such as agriculture, nutrition, both human and animal, cosmetics and aquaculture, and they are studying the application potential for the pharmaceutical industry in obtaining biomaterials or biofuels. Still, microalgae are not economical due to the comparatively high costs of algal farm installations and processing. But with advancements in genome sequencing, bioinformatics and precise gene editing technologies, improving algae's productivity is now becoming a reality. In 2019, SGI's collaboration with ExxonMobil goes outdoors with the implementation of the California Advanced Algae Facility, CAF. The hope is to reach the technical ability to produce 10,000 barrels of algae biofuel per day by 2025. Well, that's all for now. Thank you. Here is some resources used in this video.